Let's go to the docks. You know that Shincho will be on board, right? So we should be careful not to say anything about the stolen novels. You must be visiting from Liyue to participate in the Irodori Festival. We'll be your guides, and we'll take you onto the island. Huh? Is it Paimon, or have we met somewhere before?
Yes, in fact we have. I'm Shu from Feiyun Commerce Guild. Aboard this ship we have calligraphers, painters, and even players of Theater Mechanicus. The inventor of Theater Mechanicus previously came to the Feiyun Commerce Guild seeking investment. Although the guild manager was not interested, Master still wanted to support them. We heard that they'd be demonstrating the game and letting people try Theater Mechanicus at the Irodori Festival. So the guild manager instructed Master and I to take the opportunity to come to Inazuma and...
Oh! Speaking of which, where's the young master?
Master, he's,
Whoa! Shincho's just sitting there. Sound asleep.
What? Oh. It's the Traveler and Paimon. I presume you are guests in Inazuma as well? It seems fate has destined our paths to cross once again.
Oh, we aren't actually guests. We're actually guides for the Irodori Festival.
Please, no need to worry. I was a little too caught up in a novel on the voyage here. When I finally realized what time it was, the first rays of dawn were already peeking over the horizon. Yes, now that we've arrived, the Kanjo Commission will likely wish to inspect our invitation letter. Let's keep it in hand, shall we? Huh? That's odd. There was a piece of paper underneath my bag. Strange. I don't recall seeing it there before.
Ooh, let Paimon have a look! Oh, there's no doubt about it. It's from the same series as the story we found before! Even the handwriting looks exactly the same!
The story you found before?
Oh, yeah! In the warehouse down by the poem hunt competition! Yeah, that's it! A friend of ours is on Rito to paint portraits of the 5 Kasen. You know, as part of the Irodori Festival. Poetic stories about the 5 Kasen have been hidden in various places nearby. If you can find one of the stories and give it to this friend of ours, then there's a chance you'll become the model for the next portrait.
Wait a moment. So you mean that...
Hey! It's hard coming up with stuff on the spot like that.
There's a chance of meeting Calx in person?
Huh? Yeah! You could say that.
Really? That's wonderful! I knew that Calx would attend the Irodori Festival, but convincing my father to let me come to Inazuma was proving to be quite the high hurdle. I had to really rack my mind to come up with the excuse of evaluating the investment value of Theater Mechanicus. Just a few days later, word then came that Calx would be busy painting portraits of the 5 Kasen during the festival. It is a most rare opportunity for both Calx and I to be in Inazuma together, but it seemed he would be too busy with the portraits to meet with me. So, I felt quite disappointed for some time now.
Don't worry, Shincho. Even though Calx has work to do, he still has time to see friends. We can take you to see him right now. Also, we heard that Calx did illustrations for your A Legend of Sword novel.
So you've already heard. To be honest, my works have drawn little interest in Liyue. However, the novels are selling quite well in Inazuma with the help of Calx's beautiful illustrations. Calx is not only a skilled artist, but he also carries out his craft with great alacrity. I heard that it took him merely a few hours to finish the illustrations for the latest chapter. But when I looked at the art, the brushwork did not even look the slightest bit rushed. His work is truly exquisite. Oh my, I was beginning to get carried away there. Let us depart, quickly now.
Luckily, the idea of meeting Albedo may attention and keep the situation under wraps. Let's just hope we don't let anything slip while meeting Albedo.
Traveler, Paimon, how are you? And who is this accompanying you?
You must be Calx. It's a great pleasure to finally meet you. I am the author of A Legend of Sword, forgive me. It's rude of me to introduce myself by my pen name when meeting in person. Please, call me Xingqiu.
And you may call me Albedo, then.
No, that would be most improper.
Why not? Seeing as we're both friends of the Traveler, it'd be more convenient for us to use our real names. Besides, we've already corresponded with each other many times before. In fact, I feel a bit self-conscious seeing you act so politely.
It's not just you, Albedo. We haven't seen Xingqiu act this awkward before either.
You guys, it's certainly not good taste for you two to be teasing me like that. Oh, by the way, we happened to find a story from the poem hunt competition at the docks. I heard that you...
Poem hunt?
That thing where we have to find pieces of paper with stories of the 5 Kasen. Venti found one, and then he was allowed to be a model for one of your portraits.
Huh? Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, I understand the story now. Thank you, it's very helpful.
Splendid. Though, I'm still piecing together the story myself. Would you kindly explain it to me in more detail?
If all of you are free, why don't we discuss this over a meal?
Well, about that.
Do you have other plans, Xingqiu?
No, not at all. Speaking of dining, Shimura's unagi chasuke is quite delicious. Would you like to go there?
Shimura's. Unfortunately, today is a bit windy. How about Uyu Restaurant instead?
That's perfectly fine with me. But I must first unpack my luggage. Let's meet later at Uyu Restaurant.
Something didn't quite add up just now.
Huh? No way! Paimon thinks we acted well together. Did we say something we weren't supposed to?
No, Paimon, I'm not referring to us. Traveler, what are your thoughts?
Huh? Xingqiu's suspicious? Hey, what are you two talking about?
Paimon, you read the poem, right? Although it may seem confusing to Xingqiu on its own, what if we read it together with the previous poem we found?
Read them together? Let's see. Suiko lost Aoi no Okina's poem in a drunken stupor. So, Aoi no Okina recovered the poem and gave it to some mysterious person. Huh? Wait a minute. Could today's story be hinting that the one who stole the latest copies of A Legend of Sword is Xingqiu himself? No way! That can't be right! Xingqiu only arrived in Inazuma this morning!
And that is precisely the point of suspicion. If Xingqiu had only just arrived in Inazuma, how could he recommend Shimura's chasuke? Moreover, he didn't raise any questions when I suggested another place because of the windy weather. This means he knows that Shimura's is an open-air restaurant.
Are you saying that Xingqiu has already been in Inazuma for some time, and that he's only pretending he just arrived?
Yes, that is indeed my conclusion.
But how could Xingqiu be the book thief? His mission is to fight for justice, isn't it? There's no way he'd do something against his own ideals.
Calm down, Paimon. Even though this is the first time I've met Xingqiu in person, we've communicated via letters for some time now. I do have some understanding of his character. I think there must be some deeper motive at play here. The story also tells us that Aoi no Okina flees with a poem because of a threat.
Oh? Could Xingqiu be in danger?
It's difficult for us to detect anyone following or eavesdropping on us. I think it should be safe for us to talk there. I'll be relying on your assistance to get to the bottom of this matter. Good. Then let's head to Uyu Restaurant.
Water from the hot springs has magical powers to heal your body and soul.
I don't see anyone suspicious around. It seems clear for the moment. Let's go inside and wait for Xingqiu.
Oh, this whole thing's starting to make Paimon a little nervous. What do we do? And what do we talk about when Xingqiu gets here?
First, we must ascertain whether Xingqiu was already in Inazuma or not. If we can find evidence of him deceiving us, then we can use it as leverage to persuade him to tell us the truth. Since we're still waiting for him, why don't you go and chat with other guests in the restaurant and see if you can learn anything useful?
The last phase of the Irodori Festival is when they release the all-new publications. The one I'm really looking forward to is A Legend of Sword.
That's right. A signed first edition is going to become quite the collectible. I've got to get my hands on a copy.
I've seen Genyu's signature before. His handwriting is super neat. He must be really diligent about his style.
He'll be there in person on the day of the release, so we'll get a good look at him then. I hear that he's actually pretty young.
Wait a minute. Did you just hear that? Not only will Xingqiu be signing novels at the release, but his handwriting is super neat? Albedo, what should we talk about when Xingqiu gets here? Any ideas?
I will try to break the ice by talking about our work on novels and illustrations. If he really is hiding something, then he might feel even more nervous than we do. If we start by talking about our work creating novels, perhaps he will lower his guard.
Oh, come to think of it, Xingqiu mentioned that he'd like to thank you for finishing the illustrations on time. He said they looked amazing despite the time you had.
Is that so? That is also a very valuable clue.
Hello there. What can I get for you?
Hi, do you have any special recommendations today?
Why, of course. I'd personally recommend our freshly caught seafood. It's been pouring these past few days, so the fishing boats haven't been able to sail at all. But the weather finally cleared up today, so we have some fresh catch.
So the weather at sea has been bad these past few days?
It sure has. A few guests from Liyue were just telling me that their boat was heaving and rolling all the way here. They couldn't do anything but sleep the entire trip.
Oh, this might be some useful information.
That was delicious. Inazuman cuisine largely consists of fresh seafood, which is certainly to my liking.
That's good. We were worried you might not have an appetite because you didn't sleep well. Now's our chance. Let's talk to Xingqiu and see if he says anything useful. Maybe we could start by asking him about the journey.
Well, I've never embarked on such a long journey before. Though I was quite excited when we set off, the long days at sea quickly became most monotonous.
Speaking of the journey, did anything noteworthy happen along the way?
Well, to be honest, I spent most of the trip with my nose in a novel.
Well, that didn't tell us much. By the way, Xingqiu, what book were you reading on the way here?
Oh, I was reading a novel called Pretty Please Kitsune Guji. It was sent to me by my editor.
Didn't you feel dizzy while reading on the ship?
It was nothing I couldn't handle. Don't forget, I'm proficient in the arts of the Guhua clan. That being said, there were quite a few people aboard who felt seasick.
Well, there doesn't seem to be anything suspicious about what he said so far.
To be honest, there wasn't much to see. Just water all around, morning to night. The sheer monotony of the trip caused everyone to grow a little impatient. So, when the peak of Mount Yogo finally appeared in the distance as we approached the islands of Inazuma, everyone crowded the deck to have a look. However, the ship sailed along at a crawling pace. It took a whole day from the time we saw the mountain peak to the time we docked.
Paimon didn't catch anything suspicious so far. Oh, right! If it took an entire day to reach the docks, then it would have been pouring rain at the time they saw the top of the mountain.
We learned a couple of things from his account, but we...
While it is entertaining to read novels, writing one is an endeavor of its own. You must give great thought to every detail. From the layout of the plot to the rhythm of the lines. And even when you have come up with interesting content, there's still no guarantee that it will be to your liking.
I couldn't agree more. Whether it's writing a book, creating art, or studying alchemy, seldom can you really feel joy after seriously delving into the work.
Xingqiu and Albedo are getting into some deep topics now. But nothing suspicious has come up.
Speaking of illustrations, Albedo, I've long wished to express my sincerest gratitude for providing My novel didn't sell well in Liyue, so I must admit that I had some reservations regarding its potential. Yet you've consistently managed to select the most important scene of the chapter for your illustrations. This made me feel as though what I was trying to express could be understood after all.
Thank you. However, I took some risks in the illustrations, so I'm feeling slightly uneasy myself. Light novel illustrations are typically centered around the characters, but this time, I adopted a different approach in the illustration for the last chapter.
Well, that scene was intended to depict the change in the world, so I thought it very fitting to draw only scenery.
Doesn't sound like anything suspicious has come up so far.
No, there was a crack in his alibi. My illustrations were sent for printing the moment they arrived in Inazuma. So, logically speaking, there's no way he could possibly know what the illustrations look like. Xingqiu, we have something very important to ask you now.
Oh? Why the solemn looks all of a sudden? Huh? I'm afraid I don't follow.
Mr. Okazaki told us earlier that actually the weather at sea was very bad these last few days. So when you said that everyone came running to the deck to see Mount Yogo, that couldn't have happened!
On top of that, the latest installment of A Legend of Sword will only be revealed at the Irodori Festival. Even we, the creators, haven't received a sample copy. If that's the case, how could you know what my illustrations look like?
Well...
The jig's up, Xingqiu. You were already in Inazuma before today, weren't you? Are you in some kind of danger but can't tell us the truth? Don't worry. The Traveler and Albedo are no pushovers. We can help you.
No, please. You misunderstand me. I suppose my lack of sleep is inevitably taking its toll on my mind. I didn't notice for a moment that you were testing me at all. I did in fact come to Inazuma early to handle some things. Let me consider how to explain this. Oh, this is most embarrassing.
Oh, well, if this isn't a coincidence.
Huh? Tone-deaf Bard, what are you doing here?
I heard that the owner of this establishment has some fine-aged wines. I didn't want to miss the opportunity to taste them.
Paimon knew you couldn't possibly be up to anything good.
Says who? In fact, I come as the bearer of good tidings. I just stole all those copies of A Legend of Sword. You needn't worry about it any longer.
Huh? The criminal who stole A Legend of Sword?
Did I say something I shouldn't have?
Oh no. The person they apprehended. Was it by chance an editor named Onodera?
Apologies, Kujo-Sara didn't mention a name. But I saw her taking someone toward Hanamizaka.
Everyone, it's too late to explain. We must make haste and rescue Onodera. Please, wait. Onodera is innocent.
Oh, so you must be the author of A Legend of Sword. I didn't expect to see others tagging along with you.
Anyway, you mustn't take him away. I can explain everything.
No need to worry, Zhenyu. I've just explained everything to Madame Kujo, and Kuroda has testified for me.
Yes. In fact, we were just getting ready to leave.
Oh, phew. What a relief. Wait a minute. Does everyone else here already know?
Well, to be precise, we had dispatched 2 additional squads here, in order to prevent the suspect from escaping.
Xingqiu looks pretty flustered. What exactly is going on here?
Though it's most embarrassing, it appears quite a few people are aware of the situation now. There's no use keeping it a secret. In the end, I'm the one responsible for this whole predicament.
No, Genyu. It's only appropriate that I take responsibility for this. Everyone, please let me explain. For the Irodori Festival, I recommended the idea of selling newly released novels signed by the authors. Not only was this the first major project I was in charge of since joining the Yae publishing house, but Lady Yae also gave me a lot of support. However, I did not discuss our plans with the authors in advance. As a result, it caused a great deal of trouble for Genyu.
Yes, to be frank, calligraphy is not my strong point, so signing events are really not my forte.
Even though such an event will be difficult for Genyu, after telling him how important the plans were to me, he immediately boarded a ship to Inazuma to come up with a solution. So these past few days, Genyu has been actively practicing his handwriting. However, it takes time to sign each book, and we realized the time we reserved for the signing was not nearly enough. So I came up with the idea of moving the new books from the warehouse to my place. That way, Genyu could use these few days to sign them all. I thought everything would work out without a hitch. I never expected that someone would immediately realize that the books were missing from the warehouse. To make things worse, I was on vacation and staying with Genyu in my house these past few days. I had no idea that the situation had turned into such a huge mess. All of this happened because I wanted to prove myself through this event.
Onodera, I agreed to your proposal because I didn't want the readers to know of my unsightly handwriting. Also, I knew that Onodera had been misled by one of my prior signatures. At a previous event, the Yae publishing house had requested autographs of authors so that they could be put on display. I practiced tirelessly for an entire day to finally deliver a stylish and elegant signature for the event. But looking back on it now, I had dug myself into a hole by delivering that nice signature for the sake of my pride.
Hey, come on, you two. Loosen up a little. The theft was nothing more than a simple misunderstanding. Besides, everyone has something they do not wish others to see.
Yeah, that's right. All that matters is that Shincho and his books are okay.
Onodera, I think you should explain the truth regarding the stolen books to the rest of the people on Rito.
Yes, I understand. I'll apologize to everyone.
We should probably be heading back to Rito as well. Let's tag along.
Onodera, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be on leave these few days?
I'm very sorry for all the trouble that I've caused.
Yes, Onodera, but why didn't you tell everyone earlier? If you had told us, we could have thought of some ways to help you.
That's right. We're a team, and we should be helping each other in tough situations like this.
Let's leave the past behind us now. Our first priority is to help Genyu with his signatures. How is your progress so far?
My progress is not what I had hoped for. Even after working through the night these past few days, I've only finished perhaps 1/10 of the signatures.
Oh, no wonder Shincho looked so sleepy today.
I understand. Murata, go back to Yae Publishing House and get Aratani to book a room on the second floor of the Uyu restaurant. We'll be using it for Genyu's emergency calligraphy lessons.
Yes, Mr. Hirayama. It just so happens that my brother is a calligrapher. Should I ask him to lend his assistance as well?
Yes, good idea. Ah, you've just reminded me. 2 calligraphers from Liyue arrived today. We've worked with them before, so I'll go and ask them to help out too.
It seems I'm really in for it now.
No need to worry, Genyu. I'm sure you can do it. Didn't you finish the last chapter of your novel in just 1 week's time?
Yes, but writing novels and learning calligraphy are 2 entirely different skills.
Even though Shincho still has to deal with his handwriting, now feels a little relieved now.
I always used to prefer working alone in my workshop, but I've come to realize that solving problems with others also has its merits.
We also owe a special ode of gratitude to the mysterious person who has been leaving important info for us along the way.
Huh? You mean whoever left behind those stories about the 5 Kasen?
Pardon me, but what are you talking about?
Oh, right. We haven't had a chance to explain things to Shincho yet.
I see. It appears that Onodera and I were spotted when we were moving the books. Albedo, may I ask you one thing? Are you able to include me in a portrait as well? Not only do I owe the successful resolution of today's incident to that story, but I also hope that I'll remember this lesson.
No problem. Considering the similarities between the portrait and the events that have taken place, your proposal is very reasonable.
That figure was none other than Aoi no Okina himself. This turn of events had begun with an unnamed individual, under whose coercion, Aoi no Okina was forced to take drastic measures to retrieve a page of poetry. He knew nothing of this individual's true intentions. All he knew was that the poem had to do with an old acquaintance, Akahito.
Albedo really is something. He finished the portrait of Aoi no Okina in no time at all. Wonder how Shincho's going at Uyu Restaurant. Hey, do you think whoever left those stories for us could be hiding somewhere nearby? Oh, hello? Mr. Story Writer? Are you here? Could you please help Shincho with something? He's a friend of ours and the release of his new book is super important to him. Oh, what's that sound? It was just a cat. Looks like we can't make them reveal themselves that easily. It's getting late now. But let's go back and get some rest. We still have to go to the docks and wait for another ship tomorrow morning. It's already time for us to be at the docks. Let's go! The arrival schedule says ship stopover, one person. Does that mean we're only welcoming one guest today? Look! That figure on the wharf! It looks like Kazuha!
Greetings, traveler in Paimon. I heard there would be guides for the Irodori Festival, but I didn't expect it would be you two.
We didn't expect to see you either! Returning as a guest for the Irodori Festival, no doubt.
I was a little surprised myself when I received the invitation. But after wandering the outside world for so long, it's good to have an opportunity to return to my homeland and pay respects to my old friends.
Kazuha, when we saw you in the distance just now, you seemed to be looking for something. What happened?
Ah, yes. You see, when I came off the boat with everyone just now, I suddenly heard light footsteps around me. I could tell they were not footsteps of a regular passenger. But by the time I turned around, the person had already disappeared. I only heard a splash come from below the pier. Even though I didn't manage to catch a glimpse of them, I found this strange piece of paper by my feet.
Oh, does the paper happen to have a poem written on it?
Huh. How did you know? Fascinating. It's almost hard to believe such things could happen. Sure, here it is. Please, have a look.
Last time, Aoi no Okina's poem ended with a reference to Akahito. And sure enough, this is a story about him. The story this time basically says that Akahito got his name from his love of red seals. However, the shogun discovered that he had committed plagiarism, and he was soon exiled. Well, if Paimon were to rate today's story, it sounds pretty unfortunate.
I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with this story. I too was once wanted as a criminal by the shogunate. So I'm not all that different from Akahito mentioned in this story.
But according to the story, Akahito was exiled by the shogun because of his wrongdoings. You did nothing wrong, Kazuha. Huh? Traveler, what are you thinking about?
Ah, by the way, you mentioned that your friend has been struggling because he's unable to sign his name quickly, right? In Liyue and Inazuma, there is a saying, that which has been stamped has also been signed. Perhaps using a seal could be a feasible solution. While sailing at sea, I sometimes carve things to pass the time. If you wish to create a stamp for his seal, I might be able to help.
Wow, that's an idea! Quick, let's go tell Albedo! Albedo, we figured out a way to help Shincho!
Interesting. A story of the 5 Kasen appears again, and with a timely solution. A stamped seal, huh? Let me think. Indeed, it is an efficient solution. If we use a stamp, then Xingqiu won't have to struggle with his handwriting anymore. However, since Xingqiu's signature has been previously revealed to the readers, it would seem insincere if he only used the stamped seal for his new books. But I think a seal is a part of it, of course. Let's go to Uyu Restaurant now to discuss my idea with everyone.
Yes, that's it, Genyu. Your writing has greatly improved today, which means yesterday's intensive training was effective.
My apologies, but I simply can't do it anymore. My hands are so sore that I can't even move them anymore. I should have known better than to read novels during calligraphy class.
You just had a 10-minute break. Come on, you can do this.
When it comes to pushing a deadline, there's no one more brutal than Mr. Hirayama.
No wonder Lady Yai would always send the editorial director to handle troublesome authors.
Whoa, this is getting scary. It hasn't even been that long and Shincho's already zombified.
Mr. Hirayama, we found a solution that might just solve our dilemma. In both Liyue and Inazuma, seals are widely used as the equivalents of a signature. If we use a stamp to leave the author's seal on the books, then we could make the signature process a lot easier. Of course, a seal on its own is not enough. Signature consists of 2 parts. First, we'll use a personalized seal. We can simply carve one using Chenyu's signature as the design. In addition, I'll also design a simple but elegant pattern that's easy for Chenyu to write. That way, he will only need to draw a simple pattern on each book.
Let me think. All right, I think that would work. Not only does it still involve the author's own handwriting, but the result should be very beautiful as well.
So, what you mean to say is, I've been saved from this predicament?
Mr. Hirayama, it suddenly occurred to me that the reason we gave up on live book signings previously was because it would take too long for the author to sign each book. But if we adopted Calx's proposed method, we might have enough time to do signatures at the live event. And if all the authors signed their books in the same fashion, then Genyu's signature wouldn't look out of place.
If you think it's feasible, I would certainly be happy to design signatures for the other authors as well.
Yes, and you may leave carving the stamps to me.
In that case, I shall contact the other 2 authors participating in the new release event.
It is a great honor to use a signature designed by Calx.
My pen name is quite complicated and isn't suitable for signing events. However, if we implement this new format, then it'll be a dream come true for me as well.
Great! Looks like everyone's on board with the idea.
I'm sorry to have kept you busy for so long, Genyu. Please, take the next few days to have a good rest. We'll handle everything from here. The books that Genyu already signed can be used as special prizes in future events held by the Publishing House.
We did it! The event is saved!
Thanks to everyone's efforts, Onodera and I are finally free of that mess.
That's right! You're finally free, Shincho! Maybe you should step outside for some fresh air.
Traveler, there you are.
Oh, it's Ayaka! And Venti! That's an interesting combo.
I was just going to the festival venue to prepare the Ikebana lesson when I found a strange piece of paper on a flower stand. This bard just happened to be close by at the time. He informed me that you've also found similar papers recently. As such, we came together to find you two. But the paper she found isn't quite the same as the ones we found before. Here's the paper. Please, have a look.
Huh. All the poems we found before were roughly the same length. But this one is only 2 lines.
And even though there are only 2 short sentences, neither of them are next to the title or centered on the page. The position of the writing seems to indicate that there is other content written on this paper besides these 2 lines.
If we take the poem literally, it reads, "Dip this paper in water and see the truth naturally appear." Speaking of which, I have an ancient text at home, specializing in ancient and exotic stories. It mentions a special ink that will show itself when wet and disappear when it's dry.
So, shall we give it a whirl? It just so happens that there's a pond nearby.
Wow, look! It's really working! More words have appeared on the paper! Let Paimon see what it says. Story says that after Sumizomi got the collection of poems from Akihito and put them into a stream of water, the plagiarized words in the poem became blurry. Huh? Why would that happen?
You see, Paimon, in the past, when printing was not yet well developed, handwritten text could easily become smudged in books when exposed to moisture. To ensure the text lasted longer, they'd either write using a special ink or coat the paper's surface with a waterproof coating once the writing was finished. Such special inks are time-consuming and laborious to produce, and the waterproof coating could also prove just as difficult. However, since Akihito's poetry collection was an important gift to be presented to the shogun, surely one of those 2 methods was used to protect it. But as for the plagiarized poems, not only would they lack Akihito's seal, but the words would also react differently when exposed to liquid.
Which means Akihito didn't play. He was set up!
Yes, it appears that this is the truth that Sumizome's story is trying to convey. Although the story is saddening, I've decided on the subjects to use for Akihito and Sumizome's portraits. Kazuha, Ayaka, would you be willing to be the models for my paintings?
I would be delighted.
Yes, as would I.
There you go! The next 2 portraits should be ready in no time!
Yes. And now that all 4 stories have all been collected, the story of the 5 Kasen is now fully completed.
Long ago, Inazuma had 5 legendary poets. People bestowed upon them the title of the 5 Kasen.
One year, the poet Suiko made his way to Tenshukaku and presented the Kasen's work for the shogun's perusal. But a page from the works of Aoi no Okina had been torn out, and Suiko was questioned regarding the matter. Suiko pleaded guilty. He admitted to drinking at the tavern the night before, and vaguely recalled a mysterious figure approaching while he was intoxicated.
That figure was none other than Aoi no Okina himself. This turn of events had begun with an unnamed individual, under whose coercion Aoi no Okina was forced to take drastic measures to retrieve a page of poetry. He knew nothing of this individual's true intentions. All he knew was that the poem had to do with an old acquaintance, Akihito.
Akihito. Each poem he composed, he marked with a scarlet red seal, hence the Aka in his name. Such a distinguished writer was he, and yet one of the poems he had submitted the previous year was found to be plagiarized. Akihito was exiled for his crimes, and only 4 of the 5 Kasen remained.
Sumizome went over Akihito's poems and noticed that the plagiarized poem lacked his seal. She immersed his poetry in a stream nearby, and only on the plagiarized poem did the ink run. Aoi no Okina passed by and witnessed Sumizome's doing, which he then recorded in a poem. Thus transpired the events of Suiko's poetry submission, and this is where the story comes to an end.
We completed the story of the 5 Kasen. There's still one thing Paimon hasn't been able to figure out. One of the 5 Kasen is called Kuranushi, right? It's just that, how could the story of the 5 Kasen finish without him appearing at all? Oh. Huh? Not noticed what? This is no time to be playing games, Tone Deaf Bard.
What he means is that the story of Kuranushi was already embedded within the 4 poems.
Huh? Really?
That's right. The key lies in the poem that Aoi no Okina wrote after seeing Sumizome rinsing the poetry collection. An average person could never understand the scene of a young girl washing Akahito's poetry collection in a stream. Even Aoi no Okina couldn't figure out the meaning behind Sumizome's actions. He was simply reminiscing and thinking about his old acquaintances. However, for the perpetrator who framed Akahito, it was completely obvious. He was worried that if this poem was seen by the Shogun, then the Shogun could discover the truth behind the plagiarism incident. If that happened, then he'd be finished. So in desperation, he threatened Aoi no Okina to make him tear out this poem.
Which means the one who threatened Aoi no Okina is the same person that framed Akahito. What? Kuranushi?
That's right. Though there are only 4 poems, they still managed to tell the complete story of all 5 Kasen. Since the Shogun mentioned in the poems is certainly not the one of the 5 Kasen, the only character left is the mysterious one with an unknown identity.
Oh, okay. Paimon is finally starting to get it now.
However, this also brings something else to mind. The story of the 5 Kasen has more or less reflected everything that's been happening, which begs the question, is there a Kuranushi in our world as well?
A Kuranushi? In our world?
Speaking of which, I wonder if our dear Kazuha has come up with anything.
Oh, right! Kazuha! He's been pretty quiet this whole time. Let's ask him!
Almighty Shogun.
In front of this blank canvas for a while, and you don't look so good.
Apologies for making a wild assumption, but has the story of the 5 Kasen reminded you of anything?
Yes. A few things did come to mind, actually. However, they were nothing more than some past incidents regarding my family. I don't mind sharing the stories, but I'd prefer not to bring you any more trouble.
Hey, we're all friends here, Kazuha. You can always tell us whatever's on your mind.
Kaidehara, please forgive my assumption, but perhaps you were thinking of the Raiden Gokuden?
The Raiden Gokuden? What's that?
It appears that Miss Kamisato and I were thinking of the same thing. But it also has much to do with the Yashiro Commission. It would be improper to speak of it here without the consent of Miss Kamisato.
It's fine. Those of us here are all trustworthy, so there isn't any harm in it. However, this matter is somewhat complicated and may be difficult to explain. Let me start with the Raiden Gokuden. As you all know, the Yashiro Commission's primary purpose is managing ceremonial and cultural affairs, and Inazuma's art of forging swords is a very important part of our culture. The Raiden Gokuden were once the top 5 schools of the forging art in Inazuma. Although these families were swordsmiths by craft, they also held many important positions in the Yashiro Commission. Unfortunately, of the 5, only the Amenoma art still maintains its artisan lineage. The descendants of the Ishin art are also still alive, but the craft has been lost to time. The descendants of the Ishin art are none other than the Kaidehara family.
Whoa! We knew Kazuha came from a noble family, but we had no idea about his connection to the Yashiro Commission and sword making.
Yes, but that's all part of the past now. The Ishin art was lost with my great-grandfather's generation. My grandfather was dissatisfied with my great-grandfather's lack of effort. When he was young, my grandfather traveled all over Tevat to find a way to revive the family business. But it was to no avail. And in my generation, our last remaining family property was lost as well.
I heard my elder brother mention that the decline of the Raiden Gokuden happened very rapidly. In the span of a few decades, 3 of the families suffered various misfortunes and disappeared completely. Later, there was speculation that all of these misfortunes stemmed from some background machinations, meaning that someone wanted to wipe out the Raiden Gokuden. However, since not every family of the Raiden Gokuden came to ruin, such explanations were treated as nothing more than a conspiracy theory.
Indeed. I've also believed such ideas were just theories and rumors. However, I know that a major incident happened to my great-grandfather when he was young. Not only did it affect the Kaedehara clan, but it nearly jeopardized the Kamisato clan's position in the Yashiro Commission as well. After reading the story of the 5 Kasen, I can't help but feel like it's pointing me toward the truth behind that incident.
What exactly happened to your great-grandfather, Kazuha?
I still can't say. I need to speak with someone to verify the details. Let's meet here again at noon tomorrow. I will tell you everything I know then.
Mm.